Josilyn Drake Show, Jacqueline Jones.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're so excited to have you.
Are you?
We are. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am known as the Jackie Jones. I don't know who started that, but that's a real thing in life. And I own a marketing firm. I am somebody's wife and somebody's mother.
Awesome.
A 3-year-old.
Awesome.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You're brand new in that, huh?
Yes. So very new. Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us about your business and services.
Sure. So One Degree is a kind of boutique style marketing firm that does marketing strategy mostly, social media management, website development, email marketing, a few of those things to execute the strategy, not all the things, but a few of them. And we basically focus on small businesses, startups, brands and organizations, mostly people who are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's just a good place to be able to affect the longevity of businesses. And so startups and small businesses, for the most part, the small business could be up to $36 million according to the government. So, so small, micro small, yes. But there are some larger ones as well that most would consider medium, but they're still considered small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, your services are like needed, but many people don't even understand what marketing is. Can you kind of tell us what that is so that those who are listening who have these wonderful service and products and get frustrated like no one knows me, can you kind of help them understand what you do to help them get that out there?
Sure. Marketing, I always joke that marketing is a fancy word for sales. And essentially it is, but not in the dirty sense, not in the old used car salesman sense, at least not anymore. But marketing is basically the way that you tell your story. It's the way that you tell it so that you can identify people who resonate with that story, who can identify with whatever product or service that you're offering, because you don't really want them to buy it just because it's for sale. You want them to buy it because they need it or because they love it or because they're passionate about it. And so marketing is this kind of psychology trick, for lack of a better way to put it, of being able to just, reach people where they are, connect with them, and then say, and by the way, this thing we're connecting on is something that I can do for you just like I've done it for myself. So it's really just telling your story and being able to just identify the right people to share that story with.
We were working with some people about starting their new businesses that they want to go into. And so everyone was kind of coming up with their executive summary or their mission statement. And we were asking them, so what is it that your business is going to offer, or why is it that you're going into business? And you would be amazed at the answers. And so I had to come along and say, listen, what solution are you trying to solve?
Right.
That's going to be the key point. And so even what you were speaking to as far as telling your story, that story is going to be key when you're letting people know that I'm solving something for your life.
Yeah, you gotta point out the bleeding pain, you know. And people, I think sometimes, especially entrepreneurs, we get caught up in the fluffy part of it, and it's like, but no one is waking up saying, man, I really wish I had a new vase in my house. That's not a bleeding pain for them. But maybe there's a bleeding pain that, they want to entertain more people, but they don't feel like they have a comfortable space. And so they need vases. So it's like you kind of have to find a way to make it an actual, what is the actual problem? And then, of course, you have to determine if that problem is something they're willing to pay for. Do they want to pay to solve it, or do they just think it's a problem but they don't really care that much? Those things matter too. So there's quite a bit of work before you even get into marketing a thing. Do you know that people even want it?
Yeah,
that's an important question to answer.
Yeah. So how do they go about it? Is it like focus groups and things like that to kind of figure out if what they have is a viable product or service that people actually want to?
There are a couple ways you can go about it. Focus groups are good, but a lot of times with focus groups, what you find is you get a group of people who are there for whatever you're offering for that focus group, whether that be free food or money or whatever. So that can kind of skew data. But I always just, I work with, I do PR and marketing for an organization called Create Birmingham, and they do a program called Co-Starters, and they're doing it in communities right now in North Birmingham and Pratt and Inslee. And one of the biggest things during that we focus on is ask people, without saying, hey, I'm going to sell this thing, would you buy it? Ask them, have you ever really had this problem? Is that weird for you? Or what do you think about that? And it's like, well, would you ever pay to do a thing, to fix it? Just ask people who are not necessarily your friends and your family and the people who are going to amen you no matter what. Though supportive and though we need them, they still don't give you the raw data. And so really you just ask people. And one of the things in developing the marketing is knowing your customer and knowing where they are. Go where they are. You know, if that's a coffee shop, go to the coffee shop. Ask people.
Yeah, I think you hit a key point right there. Some people can become frustrated and literally stop their business because the people they thought that were going to support them never do. And so they banked on these 50 people, you know, and never considered that it's maybe only 10 for real.
Right.
You know, and the importance of going where the people who want your services are. So you can't just stay.
You can't just open the doors. Yeah. It's not that if you build it, they will come. That's not how that works. Unfortunately. And I know it looks like that. Like that's the way it looks when we look at larger companies and brands. It seems like all they have to do is open the doors. Well, that's the luxury of being a larger brand. All you really do sometimes have to do is open the door, but it takes time to get to that point. And you should never really depend on anyone who said yes before they gave you money.
That's good.
You know, it sounds great in theory, but until, you know, they give you whatever you're asking, it's not, don't count it. You know, do not count it until it's exchanged. Do not count it until they've given you something, even if it's not money. If they haven't given you an email address or something that's of value to you in the progress of what you're doing, it doesn't quite count yet. It's great in, like I said, it's great in theory, but you still have to get them your way. You can't just open it up and say, "Hey, look what I got." People don't run to stuff like that. Unfortunately, I wish they did. That would be nice.
It would be,
but
and some people sometimes when you're banking on family and friends. You get discouraged, you know? And so what can you say to those people who are, you know, just starting out and it's already hard enough, you know, and you worked tirelessly trying to get this thing finally out and launched and only to get no one to come in and buy.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling, my goodness, I know the feeling. You know, I think that it is about determining what's of value to you because unfortunately everyone's just not in a position to spend money. And that's just a fact of life. And they don't love you any less. They don't support you any less. They just can't, you know. And so I think it's important to, and even in a marketing strategy, you have to determine what's still of value to you. Is it an additional email on your email list? Is it a like? Is it a share? You know, is it a review on your website? Is it a review on your Facebook page? There are other things that can lead to money if they can't do that. And I think that sometimes it's important to, you know, rally the troops that are always behind you, but then tell them what their options are to support you because money just may not be one of them. And you don't want to be like, well, if you don't have money, you can do that. You don't want to do it like that, but you can just give them a list. Hey, this is how much this product or service costs. If it's for you, then great. I would love to work with you. I would love for you to buy it. If that's not your thing, if you would share it to your Facebook timeline, and you can even coordinate that, you know, say everybody shared on so-and-so date. That way everybody, you know, who we're all connected to will see it and wonder what it is. And so just kind of use those people in whatever way that you feel like is comfortable for your tribe. Because it's just not always money. And that's where the disappointment comes. Is that people they like your status and they're like, girl, you doing such a good job. And, oh, I see you. That's my favorite. Oh, I see you. But then when it's time to buy it, they don't see you anymore. It's like, girl, I thought you saw me. But you kind of have to define that for them because it's not their job to define it. It's not their job to figure out how to support you. That's not their job. It's the business owner's job. You have to say, buy it or share it or like it or review or take a picture, do whatever, you define that for them. And I think it helps ease it some that they're not buying, they're not buying, but also gives you a little bit of leeway to push forward a little bit.
Oh, that was real good. You know, something you mentioned earlier about the larger companies and how, you know, they can just put it out there and everybody runs. But what we don't recognize, we never saw the beginning of their story.
Right.
And we don't recognize that they spent millions of dollars to get to that place. You know?
The dollars. Yes. That's very, very true. I think, you know, social media has made that worse. It's like everyone is folded time on social media. And I always joke about social media just being, you know, this perfect. I put up a post a little while ago, me in some shades with a plant in the background. I was like, it looks like I'm vacationing, but I was actually in a bathroom, in a public bathroom in downtown Birmingham. I was like, so don't, you know, it's easy to think that, you know, an account, especially like an Instagram account has 100,000 people. So you have no clue how they got that. It could have been of no fault of their own. No strategy, no whatever. It could have been somebody, the right person mentioned their name. It could be that they bought those. You just really never know. And so the story and the way that bigger companies have gotten there, it matters so much. And I think people should understand, everything is a journey, and also not to compare, because what's successful to one business is not necessarily successful to another. And that's even in dollars. For some people, for their business, they just want to pay the mortgage and do that, and that's fine. For others, they want to give hundreds of people's jobs. But what is that for you? What does that look like? What do you consider success? And then realize that what you're seeing as other people's success, they may not even think that's successful. Just don't compare it, because it's not a healthy thing. So
that's good. I know that sometimes when you are going through the process and you're trying to figure it out and defining success, and you kind of look over to whoever, and you can kind of get stuck.
Yes.
And the thing about it is, they're further along because they didn't quit.
Right.
That's the point. Like,
yes.
If you just don't quit and just keep on and just continue to be consistent,
consistency is so important. Oh man, consistency. Because I think that, we try, but then we try when we feel like it. And you have to be really careful about just doing it when you feel like it, because unfortunately, that's not how the power company works. They want their money regardless of whether you feel about it, you feel like it or not. But consistency, one of the biggest questions I get asked with social media management especially, is how often should I post? It's everybody's favorite question. And I always tell people, you need to do what you can maintain. Consistency matters more than quantity in all marketing things. If you only post a thing or email a thing or mail a thing or sell a thing once a month, if there's a community of people, you want them to be able to count it like clockwork that it's coming, so that they can buy it like clockwork. And so consistency is really the key to all the things in business. Consistently in your administrative work and what you're doing to better yourself and better your company, and consistency to what the world sees. Even if it seems like it's just a little, if you're consistent, that consistency will do a lot more, over a year than a person who did a lot in a month but then fell off. So consistency is the key. It's 100% the key to all the things.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. You really hit some key points. Let's see. What are some challenges you've had to overcome in your business?
Myself? I'm my biggest obstacle. I think that's for a lot of people. Just really first believing that it's possible. I will admit it took me some time to just believe that it was possible. Sometimes people can see more in you than you can see in you.
That's good.
And so they kind of have expectations, and those expectations become scary. It's like, you want me to do what? You sure you want me to do that? I don't think I can, but okay, if you say so. And then you do it, and it's a thing of the past. And so eventually I really had to get out of my own way. And that was a really big challenge for me. So I was working for the government for 8 years. And I was only there part-time, but I was like, I'm just going to stay with my job, and, I help healthcare coverage. So I was like, I'll stay there. But at some point, I just had to decide, are you, especially with the government, I can trust myself more than I can trust them when it comes to pay anyway.
Yeah.
But, you at some point, you have to realize I can control what I do. I can control the outcomes that I can affect. And I had to learn to believe that. And that was a huge thing to do, especially when I just had a child and, I was still kind of newlywed. But that's a challenge. And I think it is for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people want to say that I own a business, but my gosh, business requires you to develop.
It is not for the faint.
It is not. You cannot be immature.
Yeah.
Business will grow you up. Business will help you to tap into some things that you never knew.
You had no clue it was there. You had no clue it was there. It makes you see a different side of yourself. And I think that the defining factor for success is, what do you do when that person appears? I tell my team a lot, success is what you do in the face of fear. Fear is going to be there. I don't care how good you are. I don't care. You could be Beyonce. She gets scared too. Everybody has a fear, but when it's time to turn on, it's time to turn on. You just tell fear, hey, you coming with me, or you staying? What are you doing? Because we're going regardless. And it's that decision to go despite all those things that really makes the people who make it. But that's not easy. It's so much easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done.
And when you tapped on fear, it reminded me of this quote saying that the majority of us, the greatest fear is fear of how great we really
Yes,
are.
fear of success. It's not fear of failure. It's a myth. It's a myth. It's not real. Fear is something that happens, and fear is real, but the fear of failure is not what most people are afraid of. They're afraid of the responsibilities and expectations and all the things that come with succeeding. And I deal with that even now. Even recently I did my TedX talk, and I was like, what's going to happen on the other side of that? They might think I'm great. They might ask me to do stuff. They might ask me to speak again. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to freak me out. But at some point I just had to say, well, that's what's going to happen, and it's fine. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Because, all the rest of the stuff is stuff I'm making up. It hasn't happened yet. That fear stuff that doesn't even exist. But it's not the failure. It's the success. It's what are you going to do afterwards? And we get stuck on past the moment when really all people are asking us to do is the moment. But we go, oh no, but what about? And that's where the fear comes in. And it's like, you have a fear about something that's not real. It's not there. You can't touch it. You have no proof of it. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just not a real thing. But that comes with success and not necessarily with failure.
Yeah. Something we don't realize is that when we're in the small phases, it's giving us the opportunity to really tweak.
Yes, this is the time to mess it up.
Yes,
this is the time to blow it up and rebuild it.
Yes, it helps you to be prepared. What do you think about that? It's not time. It's the time to get ready.
Yes.
Like, you don't want to get ready when the opportunity comes. You want to be ready.
You want to be ready. And you know what? It's very popular to say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of believe that. Kind of, just a little bit. I have some problems with it, but I think that it's important, exactly what you said, is that while you have the space, while you're not in this huge spotlight, while you're not spending all the millions of dollars, you have to fail. Like, failing is a good thing, because really, what is success without failure? You have to learn those lessons, and it's better that you learn them when it's just you, or it's a small team, or somebody did it was a friend and it wasn't a bunch of money. It's better to do that now. Also, I think that it puts you in the practice of failing, and it's like you're not afraid of failing when it's time for larger things. It's kind of like it's like a territory thing, in the Bible, when they're talking about give me more. Like, every time somebody wants more, it's like, are you doing well with what you have?
Yes.
But you have to learn how to drop what you have and pick it back up, because otherwise, if I drop all of this on you and you can't carry it, I need to know that you're going to just keep trying and keep trying, because you're strong enough, you just don't know it yet. And so I think that fail fast, fail quick, fail early, do that now while you have time and while you have resources to rebuild, and nobody knows you changed your logo 20 times.
Yeah.
And then if they find out and they care, then you're really big, and it's something to laugh about. There's a way to get past that kind of stuff. So you just gotta get out there and just try it. I mean, it's yours.
Yes, that's the thing. It's yours. And it's something you said made me think about this scripture. It says, "Don't despise small beginnings."
Right.
I think small beginnings are hugely important.
Yes, they are.
To success.
Yes, they are. I think they kind of determine how you walk when you get success. People who have always have a hard time appreciating having it. Like they've always had it. And that's why failing is so important, because you can't appreciate success. You can't appreciate good without bad. Otherwise, it's just normal. But the people who are usually the most humble, and the people who are usually the most, selfless, and the people who are willing to serve, are the people who started with nothing, or at least started with a little bit, and they've just worked, and they understand the value of shaking hands and getting to know people and treating them right, and, being careful about their money. And so when it's time for them to get it all, they're like, listen, I have been on a journey. It's like, I have been on a journey, and though I am excited to be here, it's the climb is just as important as the mountaintop. And people who start with small beginnings, they know that.
Yeah. And it's something about that mountaintop. We have to be very careful on our way up, because it can be a very lonely place.
Oh, man.
You get to those successes, and then you're looking like, well, who can I call to tell? And you find out, like,
they're all still down the mountain.
There's no one that you can call.
You've lost them along the way.
Yes, I remember a message that Bishop Jakes actually talked about was, it's on the mountaintop where you find that you're the only person that's there.
You're the only one. And that sounds, to some people, that sounds like a great idea. It sounds like fun. They're like, oh, I made it. But it's like, it gets old. It gets old when you want to and even in its simplest form, if you want to go vacation on some exclusive yacht, it costs millions of dollars. Who you gonna call do that?
Right.
Your friends don't have millions of dollars.
Right.
You know,
Right.
are you gonna
Right.
sponsor everybody, but then you're mad because everybody's always spending your money? Like, there becomes so much turmoil when you realize that it's just you, and that turmoil is usually internal.
Yeah.
It's not usually a problem with the people around you. They respect it. They have no problem. They're like, look at you, salute, you made it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, now I feel like there's nobody here and no one who can appreciate it. And that can be really hard.
Yeah.
It can be hard.
How can a person establish relationships? Because definitely as you move higher, people do drop off. That's gonna happen.
Yes, nature.
But how do you establish relationships in every phase? I think sometimes we miss that.
Yeah.
They're gonna drop off, but in every phase, in every stage, there should be someone coming along with you on that journey.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's I think is helping my business the most is that no matter where I go, I try to establish good relationships. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that comes with not feeling like I belong. Like, I told someone last year, I felt like I was in so many rooms that I don't know how I got in them. Like, I don't know why I'm at this table, but I'm here now.
Okay.
Let me just get comfortable. But I just felt like there were so many places that I got that were not because of me. Like, I didn't put myself in there. But having that thought, like, okay, it's still, you haven't arrived. You still nobody. You're still working. You haven't arrived. You aren't better than anyone because you made it here. Actually, you have no clue how you got here. Mm-hmm. And so while you're here, how can you just be yourself and say, thank you for having me. And man, this is an exciting opportunity, and just being genuinely happy that people are giving you an opportunity and let that show. I think that a lot of times when we get in private spaces or exclusive spaces, we feel like we have to act exclusive. Mm-hmm. We have to not let people see any weakness, any happiness even. Like, I won't take a bunch of selfies with the celebrities. I want to act like I belong here. It's like, well, actually celebrities take pictures with other celebrities. Like, have you seen their Instagrams? They take all the selfies. Yes. And so you just have to be yourself and be looking for someone, because usually there is someone who is in a similar situation as you. They don't belong there either. They don't know how they got there either. They're just as afraid as you are. Mm-hmm. And they need somebody who they feel like they can identify with. And those people are usually there, no matter how together they look. Mm-hmm. They're there trying to look together, just like you are, And if you talk to people and they realize, oh, you're just a regular person, just like me. We just happen to be in this great place together. You build good relationships. And they may not all be best friends. Mm-hmm. Let me say that. Mm-hmm. That's not why you're there. Right. You're not there to make lifelong friends always. But if they happen in the meantime, then great. But you've got to be willing to move outside of the I have arrived and I belong, to say, I'm just grateful to be here and I want to share that gratitude with other people. And usually they come to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you spoke on a couple of things that I wanted to piggyback on. But first, what I noticed, and I think it's really, we miss so often. So, at some of the events, I think that we make big mistakes when we're in the room with very successful people. A lot of us, we congregate to the wrong people. To me, for me, I'm going to the person that's where I want to be. Yeah, like, it's intimidating, and I'm afraid, but I'm going.
You're smart.
Yes, and if they're willing to give me an email address or something, so that we can talk and I can get some type of advice, I'm going to do that. What do you think about that?
I think that's a smart thing. I think most people tend to kind of hang back. They're like, there's so and so. We're breathing the same air. I'm good. I'm happy to be in the room. But I think it's great too, because I think people appreciate initiative in general. Most people assume, they'll think, how dare you come up to me? I'm this person. But a lot of people are, because of that, they don't get treated like normal people. And so for people to come up and be interested into, and you may know all the facts about them, like, hey, I really love how you've grown your business from this to this, and I'm really interested in your journey, and I would love to know if we could talk sometime. Most people are, one, heavily flattered by that. Mm-hmm. And two, they see themselves. They see a person, because they weren't always the top person. They weren't always that person. Right. And to see that level of initiative from anyone speaks a lot to their character. And so you have to make yourself known. You have to stand up in the room, and whether you thought you belonged there or not, if you're there, you belong there. Mm-hmm. And earlier and I have to clarify that for people, it's like, I realize I don't know how I got here, but now that I'm here, I belong where I am. Mm-hmm. And when you stand up and say your name and say who you are and make yourself known, I think people really appreciate that. So hanging back is fine. Like, okay, hanging back has its place. after you said something or before you get ready to say something. Surely don't just follow them around.
Right.
But at some point, make yourself known. Make them, so the next time, because there will be a next time. So the next time you can say, I met you at this place. And now you're not just a random, you're a familiar face.
Right. I like what you said. You belong. If you're in the room,
yeah, you belong there.
Who
knows how you got there?
Yes, it may be your first time, very unfamiliar, uncomfortable, but if you're in the room, you belong there. Your gift has made room for
There's
you.
no mistakes.
Yes.
No mistakes. And that's why I said I have to be very clear when I tell people there are a lot of rooms that I just thought I didn't belong in. Mm-hmm. I thought that. Mm-hmm. But once I got there, I'm there for a reason. Now, again, whether I understand that reason or how I got there, who pulled what strings, but now that I am here, this is the place I belong. This is where I was supposed to be right now, and I need to turn on and be the person that I know I can be. Whether that's limited or not, I'm going to do everything I can from that point. And so once you're there, you belong there. Like it's your place. It's nobody else's. And nobody can take it from you. You're already there.
Yes. And sometimes we can self-sabotage ourselves with the insecurities and thinking,
Oh my goodness. Self is the biggest and hardest mountain to climb. It's the biggest obstacle to overcome in business, in life, especially if you're a woman. But in business especially, self is the biggest thing. We self-sabotage so much more than we realize, just out of fear, just out of being unsure, and just, when we don't know, we're like, well, maybe I shouldn't, or I'm not going to respond to that email because then, it's going to be a lot. We do it subconsciously sometimes, but sometimes we do it very well consciously. I got something else to do. I'm not going to self-sabotage. It's all of that's rooted in the fear of success. It's just self-sabotage. You're just giving yourself room to not be as great as you really are.
Good.
And it's not fair to yourself. And people have to understand that it's not fair to you. It's not fair to the person who gave you gifts. It's just not fair. And you're being so unfair to yourself because you never know how much you can carry until you pick it up. So you've got to pick it up and go. And if you can't, then fine. At least you know. Right now you're guessing. Right now you're making up stuff. But if you try it and it works, now you have a new level of strength. And you can cross that bridge again at the next big thing. But right now you carry it and you carry it well and you just go on,
That's good. Something you spoke about was women being in a room. So let me ask you, because I've had this issue. I've been in rooms where I'm the only woman. And I've been in some, rooms and your voice sometimes is kind of ignored or tolerated. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, I have, but I think that I've been in spaces where I usually have a lot of male advocates in business, just because, one, being a woman, being a black woman, it's very hard to come by black women who are so forward that they end up in those rooms.
Yes.
Like, right now, don't get me wrong, there's a movement and we're showing up. You know what I'm saying? We're showing up, and there's some doors other people have to help us push open. But now it's a lot more common, but that has not always been the case. When I went to Alabama, and so I was already a minority, as being a woman and being black. And so being in those rooms, again, it's about making your voice known. Now, I think it's important for women to understand that you don't just have to say I'm here. You have to say I'm here and I have value. And so if there's a conversation and you can't add value, you don't have to say anything.
Right. That's good.
Because even you deciding to not say anything shows you have value. Like, you just have to know. So when people are having a conversation, if it's about general business stuff, if I don't have anything to say, if it's not in my lane, but don't say marketing though, because it's on. Like at that point, and if it's valid and it's valuable, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it in confidence because that's what I know. Yeah. And then when I say that, they're like, okay, we see you. And then and we move on from that. But you've got to say, I'm here and I have value.
Yes.
And be able to do that effectively and be confident in it.
Yes, your voice is important.
Absolutely.
Regardless of whether they accept it or not, you have to speak your voice.
You have to. And you have to do it where you're comfortable. I think I've heard some women feel like, well, I don't want to be that woman who is like, oh, women's rights, and oh, I am a feminist, and you don't have to be that.
Right.
You don't. I agree. All we're saying is be yourself, be fully yourself, be fully present.
Yes.
And if you have any inkling to do a thing, say a thing, then do not hold back.
Yes.
You don't have to do that.
Yes.
No man ever has ever So you don't have to, stand up, like you said, say, I'm there, I have value, this is my value, take it or leave it, it's still my value, and I know what it is. You don't have to.
Yeah, I think the more authentic we are, regardless of whether your color, your sex, people will appreciate genuineness.
Yes.
When you can just be you, they can't help but respect that.
Yeah, because you're the only one who can do that.
Yes.
Like, no one can be you better than you can be you. And, they may like things about you, but there's always going to be something different and special about each and every person.
Right.
And whether you show that to people or not is up to you, but that authenticity goes so far. It makes them trust you. They may not have ever seen it. I experience this all the time with business. There are people who have never seen anything marketing wise I have ever done, but they've had a conversation with me. They've heard me. They've heard me care about people. They've seen me support people. They've seen me, cleaning up, even though that wasn't my job. Like, they see how I care for people. And so they assume that that's how I care for my clients. And that's an accurate assumption, but that comes from being myself. It's like, listen, wherever you see me, you're getting the same thing. Like, I don't care what the circumstances are. I'm going to be the same person regardless. And they trust that. And so if you're yourself, they'll trust that what you're putting off is going to be there in every space. And it makes a difference.
Listen, we are thoroughly enjoying Ms. Jacqueline Jones. She is sharing with us a wealth of information. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. If you're looking for an organization for your children to join and become the best version of themselves, check out the Untouchable Nation Girls with Pearls Sorority and Boys of Standard Fraternity. You can visit their website at www.theuntouchablenation.org. Also, if you're interested in starting a chapter in your city, you can also find that information at their website. And we're back. My guest today, Ms. Jacqueline Jones, the marketing Miss Jackie, is sharing with us some great information. If you're an entrepreneur thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I'm sure this information is helping you. And so we're going to continue on with our interview. So you did something very exciting. I think it was May 4th.
Yes.
You actually did a TED Talk. Can you please tell us about that?
So I did a TED Talk, or we're going to call it a TedX Talk before I get in trouble, because there's Big TED and then there's like TEDx in the city. Okay. So let me not get any trouble. But yes, it's still just as wonderful and amazing. And yeah, that happened. Wow. Sometimes it feels like a blur. And that was just this, past weekend. It was quite an experience.
Wow.
Man, quite an experience, quite a journey. And a lot of people don't know, there's preparation that goes into, doing that talk over 6 months or so, just for the 9 minutes and 20 seconds I stood on stage. But it was a good journey to take what my idea was, because it wasn't about marketing, and that was hard for me. Because if it was marketing, it's facts. I know it like that. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to be nervous about it, because it's true. Whether they like me or not, it's true. But that's not the case with your talk. It's like, it's your idea. It's something you're passionate about. So you have to stand on that stage and say, this is what I think is best for the world, or this is what I feel is affecting the world, and it's about ideas worth spreading. And that's different for me. I'm normally just wanting to only do marketing stuff. I just want to do my job. But it was really good. I had a good time.
Awesome. So you were pulled out of your comfort zone. And tell us, what is your great idea?
Well, funny enough, it's actually about what I have called post-passion depression. And so it's about how, when women have children, and this is kind of the way that the talk goes, when women have children, they always ask, what should I do when having a baby? And everybody's like, oh, don't buy diapers, they're too small, or don't buy clothes, they're going to grow into them. They give you all this great advice. They don't say postpartum depression ever. They don't say you're going to cry, you're going to be stressful, it's hard to breastfeed. They don't say any of that stuff. And then you're hit so hard with it, it makes it hard to flourish. The same thing happens in business. People are like, oh, open a business account and, make good connections and get some business cards, get a logo. But they don't say, you're going to question yourself all the time, like regularly. You're going to wonder why you did it. You're going to quit every day when you go home. You're going to, procrastinate. And it's not easy, but nobody prepares you for that. So you're hit with it really hard. And, we see in times like, your Kate Spades and people who are these largely successful people, but they're committing suicide. And it's like, but you have everything. It's like, but I don't have mental stability, because it's still a struggle. I don't care how much you take on. It's still a struggle mentally to feel worthy or to feel like, yes, I'm capable, because you get a lot of no's, you get a lot of rejection. And so I just feel like my idea basically was, look, this is not something we can keep sweeping under the rug. Mental health is a big deal in all spaces, but entrepreneurship has become such a big phenomenon for people. Everybody has a business. Everyone has a business now, but they need to know, if you want this business to be your life, there's more than the technical stuff. You have to really know that this is not for the faint. We were talking about that earlier. It's not for the faint. You're going to be hurt. You're going to cry. You're going to quit, but you got to keep getting up. And if the people around us, can support us, if they're aware of it, because it's really not about entrepreneurs knowing. We know what we feel, but it's the people around us who have no clue. It's the spouse who doesn't understand why you're always mad, or why, you're having a hard time enjoying life, because they don't understand that you're falling apart inside, just so that you can get up and be the CEO and the marketing person and the administrative person. Like, you're falling apart. And so having people, banks and organizations, they do how-to seminars and conferences, but nobody ever teaches you how to deal with all that anxiety, all those emotions. And it's just kind of unfair. So my talk was really just about that, and my own journey, my own personal journey with postpartum depression, and my own personal journey as a full-time entrepreneur, and how much time I spend in Target procrastinating. And just making people know that that's a normal feeling. But if we can embrace that as a normal thing and make people stop feeling like they're weak because of it, or not want to say anything about it because of that, then maybe they will flourish. Maybe they will see their fullest potential if they feel supported in more than just, oh, but you got your website together. It's like, oh, but you're mentally sound. We can go and hang out and you're not zoned off because you're like, I can respond to that email. I suck at this. I'm horrible. I'm not good. Like, all of that's happening in their head while you're trying to relax and have a good time, because they don't understand. So just want people to know that that's a thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Anxiety is huge, and I didn't really realize it until, you have psychiatrists on medication.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Red Table Talk with the Currys.
Yes.
And we heard about the anxiety, that they spoke about. And just the anxiousness about life, in general. And it's real, even to the point of you having to take medication. So that was just an awesome thing to bring up.
Yeah, I don't, depression is called the common cold of mental health. Because so many people are walking around with depression and anxiety, and which makes it really weird that nobody talks about it. People talk about it here and there because it's real. But when you hear someone like, someone in the Curry family, you're like, what? You go through that? It's like, they're still human, and that's a human thing. It's not a money thing. It's not a class thing. It's not a skill thing. It's a human thing. And so we have to be careful not to make people feel like just because you have stuff that you're not human, because then they don't feel like they can share it. But of course they feel comfortable then because they're sitting across from someone who lives in similar, shade of pink as them. I think just seeing someone across the table from you who is in a similar place in life, suddenly they felt like, I can say this, then the world, of course, tore them apart. But that's because they can't possibly understand, and that makes it hard for people on all levels, not just people with money or people without money, or people who are successful and people who are not successful, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think the misconception is we think that money is the cure to all. We think that because you'll have money, life is great. But money has absolutely nothing to do with how I think about myself.
Nothing. The mirror does not give you money.
Yes,
you stand in the mirror and you're like, ooh, I hate the way I look. It's not about money. It has nothing to do with money.
It's all about what's going on in the inside of you. It's self-perception. It's, those things that I have not addressed in my past,
And they're all there.
Yeah.
And I think that, when people who come into money or grow into money get that, they feel like those things aren't important anymore. And so you see a lot of people who, a lot of reason, they blow money. And it's like, why would they do that? It's like, because they don't know. They thought that would fix their problems when it doesn't. And so they spend it and they spend it and they spend it. Well, then it's gone and you still have the same internal issues that you once had. You can't buy away, your problems and your issues with yourself. You really have to heal. You really have to listen to yourself. You really have to get help. You really have to seek therapy. You really have to lean on your friends. You really have to cry sometimes. That there's no amount of money that will ever take that away, ever. It's just not real.
That's so good. I think some people, if they had the choice, would like jump the process.
Oh yeah.
But the process is really helping you to become who you need to be in order to handle it. Because, like for me, how I see my life, the version of myself today will not be able to handle the version of what I see in my future.
100%.
So, so I've got to do some changes. I've got to do some adjustments. I've got to heal. I've got to deal with some things in order to be able to carry when those things come.
That's exactly correct. But I think that it's harder to apply that to self. But if you think about it in a more simple way, I think some people, if they think about a diamond ring, that diamond went through a lot before it got set in your stone and on your finger, the right size, the right glimmer, the right everything. It's been through a lot. It's been in the ground. It's been in the dark. It's been drilled out. It's been cut. It's been buffed and shined and all those things. But even beyond that, once it was a diamond, it still had to be formatted into something that was even more beautiful. So it had to fit the right way. And you cannot just pull it out of the ground and put it on your finger. And so no one wants things like that, yet we treat ourselves like we don't deserve that same level of care and process when we do.
What are some common mistakes that business owners make that hinder the growth of their company?
Not investing in themselves, I think, is one of the biggest ones. I think that people feel like, if I can't invest millions of dollars, I can't invest anything. We're entrepreneurs, especially, and don't be creative. But if you're an entrepreneur, you feel like it has to be perfect or it can't happen. But so we don't spend the $250 on a class when we could, or we don't spend $250 on a camera when we could. We'd rather spend $25 here and $10 there. And it's like, just put it together, get some good value. But you have to be committed when you spend that money and you invest that time and that energy to make sure it works. And usually the more you spend and the more you invest, the more likely you are to try to make it worth the investment. If you spend little, you usually will get little out of it. And not even because the information's not good, but because you didn't have to sacrifice anything to make it happen. And so you're just like, cool, now I know that, moving on. But if you sit somewhere for $2,500 and for 3 days at a conference, you're taking notes, you're trying to build out something, you're trying to have something to walk away with because you're like, I invested time and energy and money. It's got to be worth it. I've got to make it work. And that's a different mindset. So you've got to invest in yourself. And even if it's not money, it could be time, it could be relationships, whatever it is, you've got to invest in self because you're the investor. You're the business, you're the idea, but you are also the investor unless you know lots of people with money. Otherwise, you have to do that job. Do for yourself what you want other people to do for you. And you want their money to invest to make do it yourself. Do what you can with what you have. And most people won't do that.
That's good. Yeah, I think a lot of us don't start because we see where they're doing it this way, they have this, they have that, but they didn't start that way. Just start with what you have and build from there,
There's a proverb, so there's a songwriter, musician, rapper, Malik Yusuf. He does a lot of work with Kanye West. He worked with a lot of people, Beyonce, all the people. And I was at this conference a long time ago, an ASCAP conference, and he said this proverb that has stayed with me to this day that I tell people all the time. And it says, go to the end of the light that you can see. And when you get there, you can see more light.
That's good.
It's like you cannot, sometimes you just can't see the next step because you haven't exhausted all that you have right now. So if you haven't tapped that whole circle, if you haven't used all the funds that you have, sometimes that bridge, you're not close enough to see it, yet. So you've got to exhaust all you can, go as far as you can see. Don't worry about what you can't see. Don't worry about what you can't. Go to as far the end of the light as you can. And when you get there, you'll see some more. There's some other stuff over the hill, but you've got to get that far. And so we've got to learn how to just expand in the space that we have and just give it everything we have so that we can see the next thing. Because it just doesn't happen otherwise. You don't get to peek over mountains and be like, oh, that's what's over there. That's not how it works. You got to go as far as you can go, and then you'll see the next step. And that's hard for people sometimes.
That's good. That's good. You talk about procrastination. Like, that is just huge, especially when you got to, because when you're creative and you have to come up with all this stuff, it takes you digging inside of yourself.
Yes.
It takes your thinking and going to places that you never thought you could even mind. Can you talk to us about that?
Procrastination. So in my, and I get so tickled because I spend so much time at Target. But that's my place to procrastinate. So I do this thing that I just started on Instagram TV because I talked about it in my talk called Red Card Therapy. And it's basically because when I feel overwhelmed or when I just don't feel like, I go to Target. They know me in my Target, but it's the perfect place. They have Wi-Fi, they have food, they have groceries, they have all this stuff. But I was saying just Monday that, sometimes you have to plan your procrastination because people procrastinate. And so I think that the lesson that people need to understand is don't think you're not going to procrastinate. That's not a real thing. Everybody procrastinates, whether it's a little bit, you scroll on your phone and next thing you know it's been an hour.
Right.
We all procrastinate, but if you will build that into your life, show yourself grace. You're human, it's fine. So don't pack your schedule because then you're setting yourself up for disappointment because you're going to procrastinate, just because of the emotional strain that comes with working and doing stuff, especially creating. Like you said, you can't be on all the time. And so allow yourself an hour or two or whatever. Now make sure it's healthy. Like don't say, I'm going to have it. Now you can have procrastination day, but you can kill it every other day. But just plan it, plan to say, you know what? I'm going to work from 1 to 3. I don't know about 3 to 4. I probably will be burned out by then. Just know yourself.
Yeah.
Show yourself some grace. And I think that if you plan that or just go in knowing you disappoint yourself less, you're more productive in the time that you have something to look forward to because you have a planned procrastination time where you don't have to be responsible for anything. And I think that really can help people. It kind of overcomes procrastination in that it's no longer procrastination. It's just like planned downtime.
That's good.
I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to force myself when 3 o'clock hits. Whatever I didn't get done, it's still going to be there at 5. But between 3 and 5, I'm not responsible. I'm just going to pause, give myself some room, walk around, go to Target, whatever you need to do, and then come back to it and hit it strong.
Yeah. I am huge about a day of rest.
Yes.
Like, I've got to have it. But a lot of people don't take that time. To me, it helps me be better than what I would normally be.
Absolutely.
I can see what I couldn't see before when I just take that day. Talk to us about that.
We don't live in a culture that appreciates downtime or rest or, self-care has become a very trendy thing to say. Everybody's hashtag self-care right now. But self-care is more than spas and massages. It's time to rest. It's going to sleep at a decent hour. Maybe it is sitting in the bathtub for some people. I mean, I've learned to do more of that here recently. But, sometimes it's just quiet time. It's alone time. It's time to, maybe you are at work, but you don't have any plans, so you're not mad at yourself for not. Like, you've got to, you cannot pour from an empty cup. That's just, you just can't. It's not possible. It's make-believe otherwise. That's what my 3-year-old does. It's make-believe. It's not real. But if you want to constantly be giving something, like you really want to, you've got to take time to fill that cup. You've got to pause, let it build up, and then go pour it all out and do it all over again. But you've got to take time to pause and do that. And that looks different for different people.
Right.
And so I want people not to get caught up, and this is the love-hate relationship I have with social media. I love it because it's part of my job. I hate it because it makes people think life is a way that it's not. And so people are like, hashtag self-care, and they're like, oh, I'm getting a massage today, I'm doing these things. But that's not all. Therapy is self-care, and calling people you love that you haven't talked to in a long time is self-care. Spending time at your grandma's house is self-care. Just pouring into yourself, whatever that looks like, reading or not reading. Just all of that stuff that you like, whether other people agree with it or not, is self-care. And if you don't take time to do it, nobody's going to give you time. And they're not going to say, pause, take care of yourself. They're going to say, no, give me all you got. That's why I'm here. Give it to me. Husband, give it to me. Kids, give it to me. Job, give it to me. And not because they dislike you. They're not trying to abuse you, but they don't know you need it. But you know. So it's your responsibility to do it.
Yeah, that's good. Social media can make us think that life is just great for everybody but us. Everybody puts on their good face and as we're scrolling, you're seeing,
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah.
And some of it is. I joke and say that, but social media is filtered. People get to choose what they put on.
Right.
And we have to remember that. Like, they're choosing what they're putting out there. That doesn't mean that's the entirety of their life. And we measure ourselves by their choices to share with us. And that's just not fair to yourself, You don't know that they were crying before they took that picture. You don't know that, that those gray pair of shoes were their last $600. You don't know that. Like, you have no clue. And if it makes you feel better, make up a bunch of stories about it. They didn't share it, make it up, but don't hold your whole life to their choices to put out to the world, because who's putting out bad stuff? Nobody gets on social media and say, you know what, today I'm just going to look rough and I'm going to be sad, and I'm going to be, and sometimes it happens because of human nature, but that's not how we choose to present ourselves. Mm-hmm. So you can't compare yourself to the filtered version of someone else's life. Mm-hmm. It's not a smart idea.
That's good. We have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, and I look forward to having you back. If someone wants to get you to handle their marketing things, how can they reach you?
The website is www.onedegreemmm, like make more money.com.
That's good.
And I'm Jacqueline at onedegreemmm.com. Everybody's always free to email me. I'm not that hard to reach. And for my personal life, I'm on Instagram as the Jackie Jones. I am on everything as the Jackie Jones, thejackyjones.com. But yeah, come hang out, ask me, ask all the things, see what I have going on, and I'm always open to talk to people about whatever their marketing life looks like.
Awesome. I hope you have enjoyed Ms. Jones as I have, and hopefully what she has shared will take you to the next level in your business. Thank you again for tuning in to the Josilyn Drake Show. Have a great day.
Awesome. I have enjoyed talking to you, even though it was for the kids.
Thanks for watching. The Josilyn Drake Show never stops. The conversation continues on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us, like us, and be a part of the conversation. Until next time, enjoy life. See you next week on The Josilyn Drake Show. Get Josilyn's new single from her upcoming sophomore album, In This Place, on iTunes and all digital outlets. Log on to jocelyndrake.com and get your Dear Younger Me apparel.